believe in the good of the world. Everything's working together in love. Every pain, every tear, every sorrow, joy will still rise on the dawn of tomorrow. I see the love in your eyes, don't you cry. I'll be right there by your side.
Check. Welcome to Persevere to Excel podcast. I'm here with Martin Toe, and the song that you're listening to right now is originally produced and built by Martin. He created this song from scratch, and I'm so excited to have him as my first official guest for the first Persevere to Excel podcast. So this is really cool. And just enjoy that nice track, that nice music.
Remember my arms tightly wrapped all around you, hearing your voice and your laughter surround you. I see the love in your eyes, don't you cry. I'll be right there by your side.
You are listening to Martin Toe.
You'll be alright. And love I was supposed to provide.
I'm super excited to have him today. Persevere to Excel podcast, my first guest. Hey Martin, how you doing, my brother?
I am doing all right.
I know you heard that little accent. Yeah, I did say my brother. You know, my brother. Martin's my brother from Africa. He's from Cote d'Ivoire and Liberia, and he's been living in New Hampshire for a good amount of time now. And such a great person. He has a really awesome heart, and I'm so glad that you're in my first podcast, man.
I know, man. Thank you for even having me on. This is an exciting time.
You're welcome, yes, man. I wanted to kick off by just saying, we just celebrated Thanksgiving yesterday. Yeah. What are you thankful for, my brother?
Oh, man. I feel like that's the one thing they keep on asking at the table every year. I would say the thing that I'm thankful for, I'm thankful for just being in this moment, just being here and alive.
And what is that when you say being in this moment and being alive? For you, what is it? If you had to expand on that a little bit, what is that for you, to be in this moment and to be alive? What is that?
I think some people can be sitting in a room with you, but then not really be there. And then also some people just didn't make it, man, from last night. They might have had Thanksgiving dinner, but they ain't here today. I think
that's true. That's very true. So how does that keep you grounded, knowing that you have the opportunity to still be alive, right? Where there's certain people that are not alive, or even what you have where some people might not have. So how does that keep you grounded?
I think overall, I think it just lets me know that I gotta cherish the moment that I'm in, because at any moment it could be taken away. So I'm being aware of that keeps me grounded. Yes, sir.
That's cool, man. Thank you for sharing that.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Let's get into a little bit of your creative process. I am a sucker for learning more about how people create, and we actually started off this podcast with one of your track, and you ended up like doing a live performance, which is amazing. And so let's talk about that track real quick. What inspired it? Let's talk a little bit about your creative process, like when you were putting the music together, the beat, what inspired it, and then how did you get the lyrics to write to it?
Yeah, so I think for me, the first thing that just came was the melody. When the melody's inspiring me, the words start to formulate. So when I heard the melody, the song was already there, All I needed to do was just tap into it. And so when I sat down and creating the beat and putting the other elements to it, I was just, the feeling that I got while writing was like, this is like
a song to the world. You know, it's something that's like, it's like a healing process. You know, I felt like the song, the way the melody spoke to me was like, the world's hurting, but there's still healing in it. You know, so I just like, that's how the words came together. Yeah. So the process, that was the process. You know, just the melody inspired me, and then the words came with it.
So you heard the melody, and then the word came right after that.
Yeah.
And then what was the process for you? Did you start humming it? Did you start, beatboxing it? Did you start, just projecting different words, or did you sit down and start writing it down? I'm curious to know like how it went from like an idea to actually you engaging with it.
I think it came from the humming. Like when it was like after the melody is hard to explain. I think in that place of the creative process where the melody is like the melody. Once I laid down the melody, like everything else, like the words come out of the melody because it's like a call and response. So it's like the melody speaking, and then I'm responding to it. That's the best way I can.
Yeah. I want you to explain a little bit more. So when you lay down the melody, are you laying down the melody by actually like humming it, or are you pulling out your laptop and opening up your the software that you use, Logic, and start tooling around in order to replicate that melody you're hearing in your ear? I'm just curious to learn a little bit more what that is for you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's along that line of like I do have it like I'm humming it in my head, and then I'm also looking for the different instrumentation that would make that come alive. So it's like, is there piano? Like is it cling? Am I playing a chord cling?
Right.
Or am I playing like a synth? And while they're coming together, like those parts, sometimes I do hum it.
Right.
To not forget the melody. But then as soon as I lay down the first couple of structure of it, the synth, if it's a piano, horn, and then it starts making sense. It's like, okay, this is what I had in my head.
Right.
And then putting the other elements together, and then breaking it down into like into a verse, bridge, chorus, and then got a whole song basically.
That's cool. Tell me a little bit about your writing process. So you just explained what what inspires the melody and the tune and the beat. What is your writing process like when you actually, hit pen and paper or your phone, typing it or typing it on a laptop, whatever it is that you use to actually jot down the lyrics?
Yeah. So for me, I use my phone, and particularly I use my note. And I think when I'm writing, sometimes if the beat doesn't automatically start, I don't get that inspiration of like, I feel like it's talking to me.
Right.
What I would do is like, I would throw the beat on and almost freestyle it. And then sometimes some of my best bars come from that because it's right off the cuff, and then I would take that and then write. And sometimes I would, after writing one or two lines, I would start recording, and then usually after that last line, I would come up with something again, and then that would already be recorded, and then I would just go and take that line, draw it down, and do the process until I have a full verse, 16 bar. That's usually how I get my pen and paper working for me, or my phone. That's
really cool. And so I am a little curious to know, how committed are you to the lyrics? Are you, once you jot down the lyrics and you've actually sung it to, the melody and the music that you've made, are you open to come back and change the lyrics around, or are you more committed about like, okay, I like the lyrics and I got to just make it fit into this melody? I'm curious to know from your creative process, what is that like for you?
That's a good question. I actually, sometimes I would make a whole verse or write a whole song, and then I would let it sit, and then come back, listen to it again, be like, I don't think I really captured what I was feeling.
Oh,
you
wow.
know? And so then that would make me just scratch out, or like, mute and then re-record again, rewrite and then re-record again, and then be like compare the two. It's like, how do I feel about this? Do I feel like I'm getting out the thought that I wanted to,
Right.
and I'm seeing it also from like a listener point, like when as a listener, someone who listens to music often, like how do I feel? Like how would I judge my own music, and do I feel like I'm speaking to myself, like putting my imagining I'm not the one that wrote the song,
Right.
and from that point I think I come down with like, okay, this is good enough to put out, or this is not good, I need to like destroy this song. Let nobody hear it.
That's super interesting, and it's interesting that you say that you try to put yourself in the listener standpoint. And I think for me personally, as a choreographer, when I'm choreographing a piece, if there's a message associated to it, like right away, I think of my audience, how they receive it.
Yeah,
because there's an emotion and there's a message that that needs to be conveyed.
Yeah.
So even though the creation is my piece, I have to disattach myself
right
to how I am emotionally connected to what's being created.
Right.
Because if it's about me, then it's fine. Then I have to figure out, okay, how do I feel about conveying this? Because this is my thing. Where at times as a choreographer, sometimes I create piece that's more about me.
Right.
Where if there is a mission or a narrative, then it's completely about the audience.
Yeah, right.
So I picture myself like sitting there. If I'm sitting there and I'm just watching this thing, what's going to keep me captivated?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like what's going to keep me like engaged and be open to receive this. Right. So, and then once I start choreographing, I'm thinking a lot about my audience. I'm thinking a lot about them, and it's cool because it's like, it puts you in a position where it's not even about you. It's about the message.
Yeah,
that you're trying to convey.
That's the most important thing.
Let me see here if I have another one of your track. Let me see. Ooh, super. I'm here with Martin Toe, and we're listening to some of his original music.
You had once again, living this life in a way that I've changed. Open my mind to the ones that I love. Please don't you worry, oh don't you worry.
I love those bells. That's crazy. I love that track. Yeah. I really, really love that track. There's so many different variations to it. I'm curious to know a little bit from you. Like what there's so much stuff happening. What's that sound? Like what's that sound? What is that? Yeah.
That's
it sounds like a xylophone or something like
There are xylophones. The
yeah, that.
Yeah, that's a xylophone.
And I'm hearing in that track, I'm hearing a lot of like an African feel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm hearing a little bit of African feel to Yeah, that's the sound I was talking about.
Yeah, that's a xylophone.
Oh man, that's really cool.
And then the other instrument that you're hearing that's just. It's almost like it's dancing on the track.
Right.
It's like what you call it? It's like an experimented sound, almost like it's a pad.
Okay,
type
okay.
of pad.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about this track. Like, what inspired this track? It's very nostalgic. I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, wow, like this is. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it felt like I was in some exotic island, and I'm looking at at a waterfall.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking at this waterfall, that's the sound that I'm hearing. Like, that's literally how I felt about it. Like the first time I heard it. So I'm curious from your standpoint. Like, what inspired this?
For me, it's the sound. Like the sound. The xylophones took me back to like before coming to America. Like I remember when we were during the war, we went to this town called Sato, and when we were there, it was New Year's, like the New Year's Eve, so the people were having a celebration that night.
Right.
And I saw it either New Year's or the day before, the day after off. So they were having a celebration, and in this little village, and they were playing the xylophone, man, and it was crazy. They had like huge xylophones.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then when they were playing, like I remember the melody was like, so like that's why it took me to. And so when I was just creating it, it was just like trying to capture that same feeling. And so the melody spoke to me, and also it just the lyrics writing it brought me back to that moment, because I remember it was like, because we were going somewhere, but like we didn't know like where we were going.
Right.
You know? So I think that's where that inspiration in the song really came together. It does also like bring you to this place, like, because it's like an adventure, but it's also like a joyous type of feeling that you feel when you're listening to it, like, you know, exotic type of feeling, because it was an exotic moment where, like, you know, hearing the music and the people dancing and enjoying themselves, but at the same time, like, the lyrics convey like you know what that feeling was like, feeling happy, but at the same time knowing that you're not really, you know, staying.
Right. That's cool, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. I can talk about your music forever. I do want to talk a little bit about just like who you are. Like, you know, we kind of mentioned that you resettled in New Hampshire with your family, and I would love to hear a little bit of just like how you found your grounding here, and then also like how did you find music? Like, where did you find music for you to be like, hey, this is something that I want to do? But I do think that it's important for you to talk a little bit about like your transition of growing up in Africa. You know, you're from Cote d'Ivoire and Liberia, and ending up in New Hampshire, and then you finding, you know, your voice, because you're super involved in the community. You're involved with so many different things.
Yep. So for me, I would definitely say coming to the U.S. back in 2003 was a scary thing for someone that doesn't know the land and doesn't know the people and even the language. Like, I couldn't understand. Like, in Liberia, they call it Siri. So like the way we're talking right now is considered Siri. Okay. So to me, it sounded like and scary stuff. And so when I think the people that came along and were helping us, people that wanted to get to know us over the time, like, really played a huge role. I got into music mainly because of my cousin, Traulet. If you've seen this, I don't know, he played a big part in getting me into music.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Shout out to your cousin.
Yeah, he was. I was over his house, and he was listening to hip hop album. Yeah. And I remember I was just trying to get his attention at that time. You know, it's like and he just was ignoring me, man. And we just kept on listening to the song, like he was vibing out to it. And I started like, I'm like, there's something. This guy really likes this album, because like the way he's just singing the songs, like. So I just said something crazy. I was like, "Yo, Spider-Man, Spider-Man." So stopped the song. It's like, what did you say? I was like, I don't know. Said, do that again.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I did it again, and then he was like, yo, I get this. So he started calling up his friends. He said, yo, do that thing what you just did. I did.
That's very cool, man.
That was like the first time I remember one of the kids on the phone was like, don't stop making whatever you do, don't stop doing it. He said, don't rap about like nonsense, but don't stop doing it. Like, I didn't know what he was saying then, but then maybe 2 years later, a year later, there was a talent show at our local Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing the talent show, and that was this other kid pulled me over. He was like he was the most popular kid at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
He had never seen. I don't even think this kid knew I existed.
Right.
But like at that moment, he took a liking to me. Like he was talking to me. He said, "Yo, man, you got a lot of talent. You got a lot of potential. Don't stop doing what you're doing." I just thought it was weird, but I was just so infatuated with this kid. He didn't know, like, I was just so infatuated with him.
Right,
I was just
right.
like, yo, this kid's talking to me right now. I was like, that's all that was on my, but like, years, so I thought there was something to it. Years
Right.
later, I wrote my first rap song and recorded it. I wrote my first rap song. I showed my friends it. I tried to perform it,
Right.
but I was very nervous,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, "Nah, man, it sucks. Don't do that." And then I knew it was good.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew I was so nervous that I couldn't present it right. So I was like, okay, let me collect myself. I calmed down a little bit.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. Rehearsed it to myself. Then I was like, all right, guys, let me do this one more time. Did it again. They're like, that's actually not bad.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there I got the name Love Stone. Rolled over it with years later, I was like, all right, I want to just be my own name.
Right.
Took my original name, but that's how I got into music. This other kid named Duran, rest in peace, Duran. He drowned in the Merrimack River trying to rescue another kid. But he also played an instrumental part in me staying with music because I was gonna give up music in high school. This kid would always drag me to go on CHS Live, Concord High School, live on Friday, Freestyle Friday, and that's how, like, after his passing away, I did the music video game that was dedicated to him. So right now I just been going back and forth, but now I'm here to stay.
That's really awesome, man. Wow, that's a crazy journey.
Yeah.
I just want to, my last question for you. It's that it's interesting because I work with so many different people, and I am a big believer of everybody being able to be disciplined in obedience to their creative being.
Yeah.
Because I believe that we're all created to create.
Facts.
And unfortunately, a lot of people don't really tap into their creativity.
Right.
So for you, someone who creates on a daily basis,
Yeah.
what would you say to someone who's not engaging in their creativity and might not think that they're a creative person?
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes it can be tricky because I think it's always, do you go back to it? That's the question. It's like you can put it away for a little bit, but do you go back to it? And I think if you're going back to it, that's like a sign that this is something you really like.
Oh,
and you shouldn't stop. And
what about for the ones that never even tap into it, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I'm not a creative person. Yeah. What about for those people? What would you say to them?
Everyone has creativity, whether it's dancing or even like to be able to like look at films and having an eye for certain things. Like everyone has creativity. I think you just got to explore the different options. Maybe it might be dancing, I would definitely say once you start to figure out that one or two things or three things or whatever it is that you really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
It brings you a lot of pleasure. Just continue to do it, and then see how you can grow in that and expand with other people.
That's cool. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah, I believe that, it's important to engage. So when you become vulnerable, you accept that, hey, I might not be perfect at this, but I'm going to engage in this no matter what. Or the other piece of it is too, like, not waiting for the perfect opportunity for you to engage in something that's beneficial for yourself.
Facts.
Right.
Yep.
I think that's where you're even able to explore,
right?
For you to be like, oh, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try this. Like, I think it's okay to try stuff, even if you're not perfect at it, because the trying is what's going to allow you to discover what it's not even about like what you're good at. For me, it's about like how it makes you feel.
Right. Remember, I barely spoke English, so.
No, that's a good point. That is a very good point. All right. So thank you so much, Martin, for being involved with this first podcast. And we're going to leave the listener to one of your songs, the song that we listened to earlier.
I'm here with you right now. I'm here with you right now. I'm here with you right now. That I love.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Persevere to Excel with Deo Mwano. I look forward to having more of you guys listening to this and following along. And I want to thank my guest, Martin Toe, for being the first person to be interviewed. And my slogan is Persevere to Excel. So have a great day. Thank you, guys.
With you right now.